오늘은 린도어즈 증류소에 왔습니다. 여기도 역시 로우랜드 증류소고요. 사실 제가 2014년에 스코틀랜드 모든 증류소를 다 가봤는데, 사실 이 린도어즈 증류소는 2017년에 생겨서 제가 가보지 못한 신생 증류소입니다. 최근에 스코틀랜드에서 굉장히 많은 증류소들이 새로 생겨났죠. 그 중에 한 곳이라고 보면 될 것 같고요. 그 중에서 제가 맛을 봤지만은 워낙 또 맛이 괜찮았기 때문에 한번 이 린도어즈 증류소의 비밀을 한번 파헤쳐 보도록 하겠습니다. 가시죠. 지금 여기가 옛 사원, 수도승들의 사원이었던 터입니다. 약간 이런 성곽이라고 해야 되나? 이런 벽들, 이런 것들 아직 그대로 남아 있는 것 같고요. 요 바로 앞에 이제 린도어스 증류소가 위치해 있습니다. 여기 이 근처에 이제 큰 농장을 하는 사람이 여기 터를 샀는데, 요 터에 공사를 하고 이거 하다 보니까 술을 만들었던 흔적을 발견하고 나서 바로 이거구나 하고 증류소를 만들게 되었다는 그런 스토리입니다. 네. 그래서 아마 이 근처 농장 주니까 자신들의 바를리 몰트 이런 것도 쓸 수 있을 것 같네요. 그런 아이디어까지 이어지지 않을까 기대를 해봅니다. 네. 굉장히 분위기가 좋습니다. 네.
The county of Warwickshire in England, the basis of the logo of the Lindores bottle on the label.
네, 안녕하세요. 여기 린도어스 증류소의 이제 설립자분을 모시고 간단하게 인터뷰를 해보도록 하겠습니다. 사실 저희가 좀 어색하게 이렇게 서 있는데 지금 조금 걸리셔가지고 이것도 굉장히 가까이 있다는 점 양해 말씀드리고, 이 멋진 증류소에 대해서 한번 얘기를 들어보는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 이 처음부터 이제 위스키 증류소를 할 계획은 없으셨다고 들었는데, 어떻게 해서 위스키 증류소를 시작하게 됐는지.
Well, where we're standing is very, very important. So the reason there's a distillery here right now is 23 years ago, a person came and knocked on the door of our house and asked if they could come and walk around the abbey. And my father said, yes, help yourself. Thought it was quite strange that someone just wanted to walk around our back garden. Thought no more of it, and then 6 or 7 months later a book arrived in the post, and the book is called Scotland and Its Whiskies, and the man who came here was Michael Jackson, who was he's no longer with us, but he was the leading whiskey and beer writer. And it said, "Dear Ken, thank you very much. Turn to page 127." So you turn to page 127 of the book, and the chapter is titled, "For the Whiskey Lover, It is a Pilgrimage." And we thought, wow, our back garden is a pilgrimage. We had no idea about anything to do with whiskey. And then we read further down, and Michael Jackson talks about walking around the abbey where we are now, saying a silent but happy prayer of thanks to Friar John Core of Lindores Abbey, who we had never heard of. So I then made it my mission to find out who was Friar John Core. And now, as the whiskey world kind of knows, Friar John Core is a monk of Lindores Abbey, and he's mentioned in the Exchequer Rolls, so the King's tax records of 1494. And buried in the middle of this very long document, and I've had the privilege of seeing it, is one line, and it says, translated, it says, "To Friar John Core, 8 bowls of malt wherewith to make aqua vitae for the king. Aqua vitae became usquebar, became whiskey." So that was the driving force. We thought, well, that there should be a distillery at such an important place, and it took 15 years to make that happen. But yeah, we built the distillery. We started distilling in 2017. So we've kind of resurrected the history of Lindores. But the history is very important. But you can go so far with the history, but the whiskey has to be good. Otherwise, it's a gimmick. So we're delighted that our whiskey is now 4.5 years old, winning gold medals around the world. So yeah, all because of one visit here back in the year 2000.
그러면 이 린도스 증류소에 있어서 이 역사, 이게 굉장히 중요한 것 같은데, 그런 초기에 옛날에 이 스카치 위스키나 그 역사를 어떻게 이 지금 린도스 현대 위스키에 어떤 식으로 좀 반영을 하고 있는지, 혹은 뭐 그거를 어떤 그 맛에서 영향을 이제 주고 있는지.
Well, with the historical link, we like every new distillery, they nearly all make a gin because you needed something to maybe make some money between the intervening years before you have your whiskey. But I thought at the very beginning we couldn't do a gin because everything we do needs to be sort of based in truth and in the past, etc. So we know the monks didn't make gin. So the light bulb moment was, well, okay, what do we do? We'll make aquavitae. So we researched what the monks did, not just the monks of Lindores, but around Europe, etc. And they would use the plants that grew around their monasteries, infuse it in grain spirit, and really it was for rubbing on wounds, it was medicinal, etc. But then people started drinking it. So that's exactly what we did. We worked with Heriot-Watt University, who have a very, very highly respected brewing and distilling degree course. So we worked with the students there saying, well, these are the plants that grow around Lindores. How can we make a nice drink using these plants? And it took a lot of trial and error. Some things worked, some things didn't. But eventually we came up with a very, very nice, very original product that is, I mean, there's no other aquavitae. So that was, in a way, the basis of and that was our respect to the history. But then we thought, well, we can't just rely on the history. So the aquavitae was great, it's still doing very well, it's a lovely drink. But with the whiskey, it was really after a conversation with Jim Swan, who was Dr. Jim Swan was our lead consultant. Mm-hmm. And we had a discussion in the very early days saying, well, you could either go kind of down a route a bit like the Loch Ness Monster, a bit like saying, well, it's a gimmick. You've got Friar John Core, you've got William Wallace was here, and all these Scottish things, and the whiskey's not so important. But we rejected that idea very, very quickly, because we thought, well, the whiskey has to match the history, the whiskey has to be as important. And so for us, a big deal was very early on in the stages when our new make spirit was voted the best in Scotland back in 2020. And for any distillery, big or small, the new make spirit is that's their DNA. And so for us to win that award was a big deal for us. So we knew we were doing the right thing. One of the other things from Jim was very good casks. You know, we've always used super casks. So award-winning new make spirit, going in very, very high quality casks. We knew we were on the right route. So the nod to the history, if you like, was the aquavitae. But now we're not leaving the history behind. And as Jim Swan said, you know, you've got to remember, with these awards, they're all blind tasting. So it doesn't really matter if it's Lindores Abbey or just a small distillery on a industrial estate. You know, the spirit's got to speak for itself. So as I say, we're very, very proud. We don't go into lots of competitions because some are more important than others. We go into the kind of high quality ones, and delighted with San Francisco IWSC to be winning these awards for our whiskey. So I suppose we've repaid Friar John Core his duty, if you like. You know, we're carrying on the history from what he started, and in a way what Michael Jackson restarted.
사실 저는 이제 린도스 위스키를 뭐 마셔보기도 했지만은 사실 처음에 이 병을 봤을 때 되게 특이하다는 생각을 많이 했습니다. 다른 스카치 위스키들과 굉장히 차이가 큰데 이 병에 어떤 담긴 의미나 그 다른 이유가 있는지. 네.
Well, we were very lucky. Lindores throughout the whole project has sort of been the gift that keeps on giving, if you like. So when the Abbey ceased to exist in about 1600, most of the old part of like the house and the farm was built from the Abbey stone, and as you can see, it's kind of flat sandstone. Before we could turn the farm into the distillery, we had to take down all the walls, to put a steel frame in and then build it back up again. So when we took down the walls, what we started finding was all these carved stones that had been hidden for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they were pillars in the abbey. And you'll see some when you're walking around. So, and the stone, all this stone came from about a mile away up there. So it was brought here in 1191, around 1191, when the abbey was founded. The abbey was built, survived for about 500 years, and then, as I say, it kind of collapsed and was used to build other buildings. So these pillars came from a mile away. They were brought here, they were carved, they were part of here, then they're buried for another 300 or 400 years. So this is like their fourth incarnation. And you'll see when you see them, they're fluted like that. So the bottles are based on the pillars of Lindores, and it's a nice thing for us, because it's a bit like we were saying, it's a history, but here we are in 2023, and things that happened back in 1191 are still very, very important to us, and you can recognize them. You know, you can see a Lindores bottle on any shelf around the world, and you'll always recognize it's Lindores. And so no, we're very pleased with the bottles.
사실 이제 린도스 위스키가 곧 한국에 런칭할 계획인데 사실 뭐 아직까지는 많이 알려지지 않았어요. 근데 앞으로 이제 곧 이 만나뵐 린도즈를 만나뵐 한국 팬들한테 이 린도즈는 이렇게 즐겼으면 좋겠다, 이렇게 먹는 게 맛있다라는 거 한마디 좀 부탁드릴게요.
Well, we welcome South Korean whiskey fans into the Lindores family. We kind of spread around the world. It's a great whiskey. Now, I know I would say that, but I think the fact that the bourbon cask, when we do single cask releases, it's always very pleasing for us that the bourbon they're all popular, be it sherry, butts, all the different releases we do. But the fact that the bourbon is so popular is very pleasing, in that the new make spirit can't hide. You know, if it's sherry, maybe you can sort of disguise it a little bit more. So it just shows that the Lindores kind of recipe, the Lindores DNA that I was talking about, any of our releases you'll still know it's from Lindores. And once you start tasting it, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying. So whether it's sherry finish, our core range is exceptional. That's the one that won the double gold in San Francisco. And for a young whiskey, I mean, don't forget this is 4 years old now, 4.5 years old. It's very, very smooth. And one of the things we get most from not just judges, but people that know their whiskey and they talk about whiskey, is that it tastes a lot older than it is. So I suppose for us the future is very, very exciting. So if you're winning awards and people are enjoying the whiskey at such a young age, just think what it'll be like when it's 8 years old and 12 years old. So and it'll be nice to watch it in South Korea, watch the market kind of expand and people kind of grow with us, because we're a very young distillery. So we're excited to see how it goes.
그러면 마지막으로 좀 뭐 건강이 안 좋으신 와중에 인터뷰에 응해주신 감사드리고, 또 그럼 계속 이어서 뭐 린도 증류소를 탐방해 보도록 하겠습니다. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. It used to have apples, so we believe this is the site of the original still, and this area here was a huge building at the time. When we Lindores core product, STR wine barriques. You know STR?
Yeah.
The distillery is over this site here of this was higher than these trees.
네, 안녕하세요. 아까 이 설립자 인터뷰에 이어서 이제 이번에는 생산 책임자분의 이 좀 더 기술적인 위스키에 대한 인터뷰를 간단하게 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 간단하게 자기소개 한번 부탁드려도 될까요?
My name is Gary Hackert, and I'm the first distillery manager at Lindores Abbey Distillery in over 500 years.
제가 뭐 이미 린도 위스키를 뭐 몇 종류 맛을 봤는데 되게 그 다른 여타 신생 증류소와는 조금 다르게 이 캐스크의 특징이 굉장히 강하고 좀 더 숙성 연수 대비 좀 더 숙성감이 있게 느껴졌는데 원인이 무엇인지, 왜 그렇게 됐는지.
For me, it starts with the spirit. So yes, you can have the casks, but the spirit has to be of a quality to start with. So it's quality ingredients. We use local barley, local water, and the yeast. From that, we are very specific with our mashing. We also do long fermentations. We run our copper stills very slowly, and all of that helps to enhance the quality of the spirit. We then use for our core whisky, it's fresh first fill casks. So we're putting quality spirit into quality casks to make a fantastic whisky.
이 린도어스 증류소에서는 이제 어떻게 보면 스피릿, 뉴메이크 스피릿이라고 하죠. 이 아쿠아비타라고 해서 숙성하기 전에 이 위스키를 판매를 하는데, 사실 좀 대부분의 많은 사람들이 이 스피릿은 맛이 없다 이런 얘기를 하는데, 이런 부분에 대해서는 어떻게 생각하시는지.
So the reason for the aquavite is because of our story.
Yeah.
At the time, a lot of distilleries were making gin.
Yeah.
But why would we want to make gin here when we have a specific reference in history to making aquavite?
Yeah.
So for us, it would be just a historical shame not to make aquavite at the home of aquavite. So that's what we did. Our spirit was of a quality. We brought the recipe together, and we tried our best to replicate what Friar John Corr would have been making back in 1494, and that was aquavite. We know that there will be slight variations from what they were originally producing, but for us it's our modern take on aquavite, and it's a product that we are very, very proud of. So some of that is a secret. Okay? But again, it starts off with our new make spirit. We have a quality new make spirit. We use different herbs, spices, dried fruits to bring forward a flavour that people enjoy. We tried it with honey, we tried it with different things, but the recipe that we finally agreed on was what we felt was best for aquavite. It's a versatile drink. You can drink it on its own, you can drink it as a long drink, as a cocktail. It's got a lot of uses, and I just like the fact that aquavit is known, but not many people know about aquavite. So I suppose we've trailblazed a little bit with that as well. And it's all about education, and educating people what aquavite actually is. And once they get to know what the product is, what the story is, it's fantastic.
이 밖에서 굉장히 멋져 보이는 이 증류기가 있는데, 특이하게 이 린도어스 증류소는 워시 스틸 하나에 스피릿 스틸을 2개를 이렇게 세트로 해서 총 3개의 스틸 세트가 있는데, 왜 이렇게 1대1이 아닌지 이 부분에 대해서 한번 물어보겠습니다.
So the reason for the double spirit still is they are sister stills. So they are both charged at the same time, they both get the same steam at the same time, and we run them in partnership. They are a parallel set of stills. The reason for them is specifically to generate the biggest amount of copper contact that we can within the given space of the distillery. So having the 2 smaller stills with a smaller charge, it helps to bring the liquid into contact with the copper at a greater ratio. And obviously the higher copper contact helps with this more lighter floral liquid that we're looking for. We are a lowland distillery, but we are not potentially making the atypical lowland style of spirit. Yes, you can see it's there, but a story I have always told is that we let the distillery and the process tell us what it wanted to make. We didn't try and force any of the process to try and give us a new make spirit that we wanted. We let the distillery and the process help us to discover the spirit that it was happy making.
기본적으로 다른 40도나 43도가 많은 위스키에 비해서 전체적으로 도수가 대부분 다 높은 편인데, 그 이유가 무엇인지 궁금합니다.
For our core whiskey, we are at 46% strength. And for me, that's a good strength for your whiskey, because it allows the consumer to have a little bit of play. If you take your whiskey down to 40, there's nothing the consumer can do. You know, it's at its slowest strength to be Scotch whisky.
Yeah.
Whereas at 46, it's a nice strength, it's still got a little bit of bite, you can enjoy your whisky. The 49.4 it's a good strength. Again, it allows the consumer to have a little bit of play with it. And it's also a slight nod to 1494, okay? And we're quite proud of that fact as well. Myself and my operations director have a little bit of a fun and joke about it, but it is a strength that does work very well with a whisky. Cask strength sits up in the high 50s, low 60s. It's cask strength, that's what the whisky's at. But because the whisky is so good, it can stand on its own at 60%. We've had many people come into this room, try our cask strength whiskies, and all gone away with the fact that you wouldn't think that, 60% with a young spirit in the past, it would do things to your palate, but our whisky, not an issue. It's just so palatable at that strength as well, and it's just testament to the quality spirit that the team is making here at Lindores.
그리고 여기 린도어스 증류소는 근처에 이제 농장에서 이제 수확한 보리를 가지고 위스키를 만든다고 들었는데, 요런 근처 이제 로컬 바를이죠. 지역 보리를 이용한 게 다른 어떻게 증류소와 어떤 차별점이 있는지 물어보도록 하겠습니다.
I think for me there's two parts to the story here. The first one is provenance. Anyone that buys our bottle of whisky, we can tell them exactly where the barley came from. We can take them outside, we can take them to the field if need be, and we can show them this whisky was made by the barley grown in this field. So for me, provenance is a very strong thing. Also, I can remember the first time that we mashed with the local barley and we put it into the mash tun, and it maybe sounds a little bit romantic, but you could tell that there was an immediate difference, especially on the nose. It was super malty, creamy. It filled the whole of the distillery. It was so. To me, it felt like the barley knew it was home, and I know that's a romantic story, but everything felt right about it. And we're helping local businesses at the same time. Very, very important. Sustainability, keeping road miles down. But these people always made good barley, so it made sense to use the local barley and keep the quality. You must have some control.
Yeah.
So we can as much as we can keep under our control, the better we can keep the quality of the spirit. So it was one of many of the drivers for why we wanted to go to local barley to do the malting. And I probably forget the most important bit about it is the fact that when the monks were here in 1494, they had stewardship of the land within a 4-mile radius of the abbey. So that land that the barley is currently getting grown on was within the original monks' fields. So we are potentially using barley from fields that they were also using 500 years ago. Great story.
자, 그러면은 자세한 인터뷰 해주신 감사의 인사를 드리고요. 그리고 마지막으로 앞으로 이제 린도어스 위스키를 마실 한국 팬분, 한국 소비자들한테 마지막으로 한마디만 부탁드리겠습니다.
For me, it's super exciting to share Lindores with the Korean people in the Korean market. I think you're really going to enjoy our whisky. Sometimes it's very humbling to be able to send something that yourself and your team have made. So to be able to present Lindores to the people of Korea is, it's a great thing. Our whisky is going all around the world and people are able to enjoy it. We will have different expressions coming up. We will have different styles of Lindores, but our favourite product is still the core product, But we have been fortunate that whatever cask we have filled, the whisky works. So there's a lot of exciting things coming in the future as well. and we're very much looking forward to working with yourselves and bringing the Lindores whiskey to Korea.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, good.
So this is the first part of the process that makes Lindores
Yeah.
different.
The biggest difference for us at Lindores is the boil off.
That's why that little glass door is up there. So some other distilleries like to go for more cloudy beer.
Yeah.
Or some people say that wood
Yeah.
imparts flavour.
Yeah.
Collect all the spirit from each of these. You need a lot more care, you need to look after them. These are our modes.
Yeah.
So we created an exclusive arrangement to buy as well.
린도스 증류소를 대략적으로 다 둘러봤는데요. 확실히 주목할 만한 증류소라는 생각이 들고, 특히나 제가 좀 추구하고 있는 위스키 스타일, 제가 생각하고 있는 위스키 스타일과 굉장히 유사한 부분이 많았고, 특히 뭐 생산 과정, 발효나 증류나 이런 부분이 다 제가 생각하는 어떤, 어떻게 보면 저희 증류소랑 거의 뭐 방식이 똑같다고 할 정도도 몇 군데 있었고, 굉장히 공감이 많이 가는 증류소였습니다. 그리고 뭐 이런 스토리나 또 이런 뭐 시설들이나 너무 잘 해놔서 실제로 관광객들도 많이 오고, 정말로 앞으로 좀 미래가 기대가 되는 증류소인 것 같습니다.
Today.
Yeah.
Because we try different combinations for this. We need different prototypes, but this one was prototype number 30. We need formula. Having in mind that we were creating a product that will be with a good flavor, all coconut flavors and aromas.
지금 제 앞에는 이제 린도어스 증류소의 세 종류 리미티드 에디션 보틀을 맛을 보려고 하는데요. 확실히 이 증류소의 아이덴티티가 느껴지는 게 이 버번 캐스크, 그리고 STR 캐스크, 그리고 쉐리 캐스크, 이렇게 세 가지가 이 어떻게 보면 코어 레인지라고 볼 수 있는데, 특히 이 STR 캐스크가 좀 특이하죠. 왜냐하면은 여기 증류소를 이제 짐스완 박사가 컨설팅을 했기 때문에 STR 캐스크를 좀 주력으로 사용을 하는 것 같습니다. 이 제가 뭐 전에도 사실 뭐 마셔봤지만은 이 린도스 증류소 같은 경우에는 뭐 전부 다 퍼스필 캐스크, 프레시 캐스크라고 표현하죠. 프레시 캐스크를 쓰기 때문에 캐스크의 느낌이 굉장히 잘 살아 있고, 특히 여기서는 이제 뭐 스피릿이나 아쿠아비테라고 해서 숙성하지 않은 이제 위스키도 판매를 하기 때문에 스피릿을 만드는데 굉장히 신경을 많이 쓴다고 합니다. 그래서 좀 더 깔끔하고 좀 더 먹기 쉬운 그런 스피릿을 만들어서, 이 숙성도 뭐 한 3, 4년 정도밖에 안 됐지만은 뭐 그거보다도 훨씬 더 숙성감이 느껴지는 그런 위스키 증류소입니다. 네, 지금 제가 여기서 둘러보는데 관광객들이 엄청 많이 와요. 여기가 워낙 예쁘기도 하고 뭐 이런 수도원이나 이런 스토리도 굉장히 탄탄하기 때문에 뭐 굉장히 많은 관광객들이 오는 것 같은데, 뭐 앞으로 굉장히 탄탄하게 성장할 가능성이 보이는 그런 증류소였습니다. 네, 끝입니다. 끝. 린도어스 증류소에서 초대한 파티에 와 있습니다. 여기 뭐 만나보니까 린도어스를 수입하는 뭐 독일 수입사, 덴마크 수입사, 뭐 중국 수입사, 뭐 호주 수입사, 뭐 무슨 수입사 여러 린도어스 관계자들, 네, 위스키 관계자들과 뭐 교류를 하는 자리인 것 같습니다. 뭐 제가 영어가 좀 짧아서 많은 얘기를 나누지 못했지만 저희 김창수 위스키에 대한 관심도 너무 커서 뭐 여기저기서 뭐 김창수 위스키 수입하고 싶다 뭐 이런 얘기를 좀 많이 해주셔서 좋은 비즈니스 자리가 되고 있습니다. 뭐 물론 술도 많이 먹었고요. 뭐 이런 분위기입니다. 역시 서양의 파티는 이런 토킹과 스탠딩 뭐 그런 것 같습니다. 네.
Aquavit.
예.
So the people don't understand what it means. Yes. So
오케이.
The Lindor, cask of Lindor's STR. That is shaved, toasted, rechar. Full wood contribution very early, and we just love this, and lovely to see Kim here. Another
Thank you.
distiller. We love.
Yeah, very nice whiskey. Yeah.
So we're going to Lindor's about 10 miles from here.
Ah, yeah, 10 miles. Okay. Good. Fire.
For the burning of the bear.
Burning over here. Yeah.
So on the hillside there you see the bear, and they set fire every year for the new harvest, for the new season.
아, 예. 스코틀랜드 마지막 밤입니다. 뭐 많은 외국인들도 만나고 제 위스키에 관심 가진 임포터들, 수입업자들도 각국 전 세계 수입업자들도 만나면서 많은 얘기를 나눴고 정말 제 위스키에 전 세계에서 많이 관심을 갖고 있구나, 그리고 많이 알고 있구나, 뭐 이런 걸 좀 많이 느꼈습니다. 예. 그리고 제 위스키의 그런 맛이 나쁘지 않다는 자신감도 많이 생겼고, 바쁘게 보냈지만 많은 소득을 얻고 돌아가는 스코틀랜드 여정이었던 것 같습니다. 사실 앞으로 할 게 정말 많은 것 같습니다. 위스키 만들었다가 끝이 아니라 대한민국을 대표하는 술이 될 때까지 노력하도록 하겠습니다. 다시 린도어즈 증류소로 왔습니다. 오늘 대대적인 1년에 한 번 있는 대대적인 행사가 있어서 그 현장을 구경하러 왔는데요. 저기 산에 보시면은 린도어즈의 마크가 있습니다. 오늘 저기에 불을 질러서 어떻게 보면 이제 캠프파이어죠. 캠프파이어를 한다고 하는데 한번 지켜보도록 하겠습니다. 기대해 주시죠. 이제 슬슬 파티도 마무리되고 있는데, 여기 보시면 아시겠지만 취객들도 많고, 이 지역, 이 동네의 축제, 마을 축제로서 이제 기획을 하고 있는 것 같고요. 정말 많은 사람들이 와 있습니다. 저렇게 산에 불도 지르고 로고를, 여기 린도어스 증류소의 로고를 산에다가 이제 불을 질러 놓은 건데, 자, 이렇게 오늘 행사 마무리됐고요. 위스키 증류소가 이제 지역 사회와 함께 어떤 역할을 하고 정말 지역 축제로서의 역할을 하는 그런 장면을 느꼈는데요. 와, 정말 이 많은 분들이 이 위스키를 사랑하고 즐기는 걸 느낄 수 있었습니다. 자, 그럼 저희는 돌아가 보고 여기까지였습니다. 끝!